Assalamualaikum and good day to Sir Muhammad Faiz bin Ismail. We are from Group 5. My name is Nur Afika binti Ahmad Kamil and my team members are Nur Akila binti Aziz Asmawi and Adila Zafira binti Nordin. Today, we will be presenting our topic, which is corporate governance malpractice in Malaysia, focusing on the cases of Patimas Computers Berhad and Paus Holdings Berhad. So, I will start with the summary of the first cases, which is the Patimas Computers Berhad cases. First, the court upheld a penalty of Rm 1.24 million, indicating the seriousness of the offence. Second, a former director was found guilty of insider trading. Third, the director used confidential and non-public information for personal profit while holding a position of trust in the company. Lastly, this action violated the Capital Markets and Services Act 2007. Overall, these cases shows a clear abuse of fiduciary duty and lack of ethical leadership. Next, I will move on to the second cases, which is Paus Holding Berhad. First, Paus director received high remunerations even though the company was facing financial difficulties. Second, the company's performance was declining with accumulated losses and no dividends declared since 2021. Third, this situation shows weak oversight in the company's remuneration policy. And lastly, such practices erode shareholder trust and raise concerns about fairness and
accountability. Now I will proceed to the section 2.1, where we identify the specific ethical failure in these two cases. The central theme connecting both Patimas Computer and Paus Holding its corporate governance malpractice. So this specifically, we are looking at the abuse of position for personal gain, which directly harm the company and its shareholders. First, in the case of Patimas Computer Berhad, the core issue is insider trading. We identify the primary offender as the former executive director, Dato' NG Baek Hian. The problem here was a clear exploitation of information asymmetry. Dato' NG disposed of 16.5 million shares while he was in possession of material non-public information. Specifically, the company was about to fail. This is a violation of the Capital Markets and Services Act year 2007, but beyond the law, the ethical issue is that he shifted his personal financial risk onto innocent investors who bought those shares at inflated price. So this is a fundamental breach of fairness. So moving to the Paus Holding Berhad, the issue is different but equally damaging. Excessive remuneration. So here we identify a severe misalignment between pay and performance in 2024, despite the company suffering accumulated losses of 3.75 million and failing to declare dividends since 2021. The board actually increased director remuneration from 1.87 million to 2.01 million. So we classify this as a pay for failure scheme. It demonstrates a lack of accountability by the remuneration committee, as they prioritize their own pocket over the shareholders, diminishing.
Thank you, Kila. Now, I will explain the implications and recommendations for the first article, which is Patimas Computers Berhad. For the first implication is loss of trust from investor and the public. When investors know that insider trading happens in a company, they may feel that the company is not honest or fair. The second implication is damage to the company's reputations. Since the issue involves a director, the public may see the company as having weak ethics. For the third implication is legal and financial consequences. Insider trading can result in heavy fines. And to address this issue, there are a few recommendations. Firstly, the company should increase transparency by providing regular compliance and audit reports to rebuild investors' trust. Secondly, the company should strengthen its codes of ethics and provide integrity training for directors and employees to improve its reputations. And lastly, the company should enforce strict insider trading policies and monitor directors' share trading activities to prevent future legal and financial risks. Next, I will explain the implications for the second article, which is Paus Holding Berhad. The first implication is unfairness and low morale among employees. This is because when the top management receive high pay while the company perform poorly, employees may feel demotivated. For the second implication is loss of investor confidence. Shareholders may feel that their money is not being managed properly. And the third implication is a poor company image. The public may see the company as greedy or not. To overcome these problems, there are several recommendations can be made. Firstly, the company should link executive pay to company performance so that salaries and bonuses are fair and based on actual results. Secondly, the company should establish an independent remunerations committee to protect shareholders' interests and ensure fair pay decisions. And finally, the company should increase transparency in salary and bonus disclosure, especially in the annual report to improve the company's public
My name
image.
is Atila Zafira. For this section, I will relate both cases to ADM590, which is Chapter 5, which focuses on corporate governance. Based on the analysis of Patimas Computers Berhad and Paus Holdings Berhad, both cases clearly show a misalignment with the core principles of corporate governance. Chapter 5 emphasizes for four main pillars, which is fairness, transparency, accountability, and also responsibility. However, in both cases, these principles were clearly violated. For violation of fairness, POS Holdings, in the case of POS Holdings, the principle of fairness was seriously compromised. The directors increased their remuneration to RM.10 million, even though the company was facing accumulated losses and was unable to pay dividends. This decision prioritize the welfare of the directors of minority shareholders. It contradicts the fiduciary duty of directors to treat all stakeholders fairly and equitably. Next, for transparency and accountability for Patimas. On the other hand, the Patimas case shows a serious failure in transparency and also accountability. The director was involved in insider trading by using non-public information to avoid personal losses. The misuse of confidential information damaged investor trust and market confidence. It also shows that internal controls fail to prevent the abuse of power, which reflects weak corporate governance. One is agency theory. From a theoretical perspective, both cases clearly demonstrate the agency problem. Agency theory explains the conflict between agents, who are directors and managers, and principals, who are the shareholders. In both cases, directors act in their own self-interest rather than protecting shareholder interests. This happened due to weak monitoring mechanisms and ineffective governance structures. The economic impact. The agency problem lead to negative economic impacts on shareholders. In POS Holdings, unjustified salary increase reduced shareholder wealth. In Patimas, the director shifted his personal financial risk onto investors by selling shares. Bad news was disclosed. As a result, shareholders suffer financial losses while director protect themselves. Evaluation. From an ethical perspective under ADM590, these actions are unethical. Using utilitarianism, which judge actions based on their consequences. The conduct in both cases fails the ethical test. Only a small number of individuals benefit, while many shareholders and the capital market suffer harm. Therefore, insider trading and unmerited remuneration are morally wrong and breach the duty of care owed to the company. Last but not least is MCCG 2021 compliance. These cases also show non-compliance with the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance 2021. Specifically, they fail to meet Principle A, which requires effective board leadership, and Principle E, which focus on meaningful stakeholder engagement. This highlights that strong governance structures must be supported by a strong ethical culture to prevent
So, to conclude our presentation, I would like to summarize the critical lesson from section 4.0. Our analysis proved that despite reverse regulation like the MCCG 2021, corporate governance in Malaysia still faces significant hurdles. We have two distinct warnings here. The first one, Fatima's warned us that insider trading will be met with severe punishment as seen by the 1.24 million penalty imposed by the court to protect market integrity. For the cause, warned us of the subtle danger of fiscal irresponsibility where board greed erodes shareholder value over. Ultimately, more cases validate the importance of three pillars we learned in our subject, ADM590, where fairness, transparency, and accountability. Our final conclusion is that regulation alone are insufficient. We need ethical fortitude. Governance structure like internal audit and remuneration committees cannot just be box-ticking exercise. They must act as the guardian of the company's conscience. As a future corporate administrators, we must remember trust is the currency of the business. Once we lost through malpractice, it is incredibly difficult to regain. So that's all from us. Thank you.